It's time for some run and gun action with Contra, the 1988 classic for the NES. Our first stage is the jungle, and let's get rockin' and rollin'. Contra has very simple controls. You can shoot, you can jump. You have various power-ups that you can get. The R power-up is rapid fire, which can be added to any of your weapons, so it shoots faster, basically. So you have better firing rate. The machine gun is the only weapon in the game that you can just hold the button down and shooting with. Yes, here is a ridiculously powerful weapon called the Spread Shot, which basically breaks this game in half. It's basically a long-range shotgun, and you know those scoped shotguns in Borderlands? Well, this is what would happen if they actually worked like that. You can get some nice trick shots, and it's just generally broken. Now, Contra is a really fun game, in my opinion. Has aged really well. It's simple, but hey. It's also fairly short if you know what you're doing, because the point system allows you to get lives really fast. This first boss here has been in pretty much every single Contra game in the series, including the Arc System Works Hardcore Uprising game, which is basically a prequel to Hardcore. I used to call it Hard Corpse for some reason. And I don't think that's how corpses work. You just kind of just get soft and mushy and dead. These pseudo 3D sections would only be in this particular Contra game. Basically have to destroy the door's energy field, or whatever. You have to hit the generator. I know my sci-fi lingo. I'm totally versed in this, man. A good way to avoid bullets, because the hitbox is kind of finicky in these segments, is to duck, because when you're ducking you cannot be hit by any bullets. Although they will try to trap you with like floor traps and stuff like there. Some enemies will try to throw grenades at you, which will hit you while you're crouched, which is kind of annoying. Easy to avoid though. This big generator shows that you're about to fight the boss though. For some reason, in Super C, the second game on the NES, the pseudo 3D sections were more like a third-person shooter of sorts. You walked around. I like these bases better, but this boss is pretty simple. The projectiles are very telegraphed, and they don't really pose a threat. You have the Spread Shot. This boss is a joke because they literally cannot hit you. Although sometimes you can get nervous like I did right there. It's kind of hilarious, actually. We're just blowing through these levels. Oh, the medals at the top left show your lives. If there was a extra player, their lives would be at the top right. Now the waterfall level has a fan favorite track, which hasn't appeared in any other Contra game. To my knowledge, it might have appeared in 4, the only Contra I haven't played. Those guys in the water there can shoot a weaker Spread Shot because it doesn't quite have the same versatility as yours. The good thing I got there was a barrier, and it basically makes you invincible. Unlike, say, Mario and stuff, there is no clear warning when you're going to run out of it. So you really need to be careful with it, and don't just blindly rush ahead. See, like, no warning. There's not even a music cue or anything. This level's pretty hectic. Reminds me a little bit of a Mega Man level with its very vertical design. Enemies will come across you at all different angles, so you need to be shooting all over the place, constantly. Unless you're platforming. There's not really too many platform-intensive stages, though. This is like the most platforming-intensive stage. This boss is fairly simple. He has 2 arms which you can shoot very wild fire projectiles out of. You want to be careful. The arms can reach a fair bit down, so don't jump too freely, but then once you get rid of both arms, the mouth will be its only weak point, and it has a very easy pattern. Now, When when I was younger, my mom played Contra quite a bit. I eventually would start playing games when she introduced me to Sonic 2 when I was around 3 years old. The Contra was something that we used to have to use the 30 life code for, but eventually we got so good, although I think the 30 life code was more for my benefit because my mom could beat the game fairly easily without me there. It was for my benefit. Eventually we got so good though we could even do it on multiplayer without needing it like at all. Which isn't the easiest thing because Contra, the way it's designed, it's not like Battletoads where you just instantly get screwed if you have two people. It's very... you have to be a perfect team almost because the scrolling, you need to be on point. Also the power-ups. If both of you can get a spread shot though, more power to you and you will destroy the game. I also think there's more enemies, but it's been such a long time since I've actually done multiplayer Contra. Since my childhood, actually. That I am not too honestly sure. These green guys are always... kind of remind me of like human versions of those Martians that Marvin Martian had. Don't know why I think of that, but... the guy who calls the Mario 3 discs, you know, those radioactive Eggo waffles, that. Now this base is a fair bit longer, not too much harder. The final room's pretty much identical to the first base's final room. Boss is a bit more intensive though. It looks simpler, but there are now basic enemies, which you want to get rid of because they shoot you. They have fairly nice directional movement. These blue guys can actually grow wings and fly down at you. Like the Wizard of Oz or something. Now this boss splits into... it's probably not going to look very good on the compression, but this boss it has two parts, and it splits into two parts. You can not only hurt them when they are, like full, like when they're one. And when you take out one, it becomes way easier because then you have less bubbles to worry about, and then you can just blow them up. Simple as that, really. I don't know what it is about the Contra series and tons of bubbles, but just about every game there's always bubbles trying to kill you. I wonder if the developers had a really bad bubble bath one day and they're like, oh, these effing bubbles, man. Now, we're at my favorite level here, the Snowfield. Why do I like this place so much? Well, I don't know. I just like snow and ice levels in general. The aesthetics are nice, I like the sky kind of, and like, this is when the game starts getting intense. This is when it finally amps up. Because the first 4 levels have been kind of like your introduction. This final group of levels, because we're pretty much halfway through the game now already. I meant to test you. These grenades, I think the actual hitbox of the grenade itself can also hit you, so be careful about that. This glowing falcon symbol basically destroys everything on screen. You do not see it very often. It also reminds me of the F-Zero logo, Captain Falcon's in particular, like, you know, the one he has in Smash. It kind of looks like that. And since our villain is the Red Falcon, could Contra and F-Zero be part of the same universe? Some wild fanfiction theories for you folks. It started here. If someone actually writes that, I will laugh really hard, actually. I do not know how you can make both those universes collide, but hey. They kinda did that with Star Fox Command. These tanks, there's a particular point where you can just shoot them, and it's kind of hilarious because it's like, the thing is, you can do that even with the default gun. It takes a lot of jamming, like your thumb will hurt. Kind of like after playing a certain Mario Party game. Goodness sakes. Domination. Now, while the game is punishing, there are segments like this that are like, oh, hey, there's active room, I can actually move. It's not the super kindest game, but it's not the most brutal either. Now, just keep shooting this as UFO. Yeah, His attacks can be shot, like those UFOs that sweep you from below are really tricky to deal with. Oh dear. I hate this stage. And when I was originally recording this, I was quite embarrassed with the result, so I hope you enjoy this. The energy zone is my least favorite stage for many reasons, although it is pretty awesome. Like, there are multiple layers, you need to be careful, you need to be aware. Like, I say it's my least favorite, but at the same time it has some of my favorite elements. And for some reason, I decide to totally jump into that. You're supposed to wait, and you're not supposed to jump that high. Now, the default gun, it can work, as you'll see, because there's some embarrassing deaths. Like that. Now, the sequence is kind of easy because it's like, oh yeah, bottom, middle, top, bottom, middle, top. So yeah. And they reverse it on here. It's top, bottom, or, you know, they decide whatever. Now, this one's kind of tricky because you got two death beams just looking at you. You gotta make a tricky little leap of faith there, get your barrier, because I was just like, I'm just gonna skip part of this level. Because why actually play the game like it's designed? Let's just run through it. It's kind of funny to run through it with the barrier because it doesn't detract a lot of difficulty. With the barrier you can actually run through enemies, but I didn't want to risk it. Oh, but you didn't want to risk the brisket. Yeah. The brisket was delicious. Oh no, the ground is purple. This must mean danger. Now this oversized football player has a very simple pattern. He shoots these little discs at you. Could be a destructo disc, I don't know. Not energy enough. But you can jump over him barely. It has, as I said, a very easy pattern. Jump over him, avoid the discs, shoot him. I mean, he has different trajectories for the discs. He gets faster as he gets, you know, redder. But overall, not too bad. I mean, I defeated him with the default gun fairly quickly. If I had the spread shot, that would have been bam bam. Now the hangar. The hangar's pretty cool, actually. Like the stage. These claws go into sequence, and what they do with it in the later parts are actually pretty fun. This flamethrower weapon has a very weird weapon trajectory, but it's also very handy in certain aspects. Not nearly as handy as the spread shot, of course, but hey, you gotta work with what you gotta work with. And now the ground there, it may look like it's dangerous, but it's not. It's just the track for the little carts. It's kind of like a mine, I guess? I don't know. I don't know why you'd want to be like, oh, let's go through the mine. Or, let's go through our base on a little mine cart. Now this does have some cheap shots, like those walls of spikes that come up. You want to be careful, you don't want to just run ahead. Although that's general rule of thumb in Contra, you don't want to just run ahead. Also be careful, the wheels of the carts can kill you. As I found in a test recording, and I totally forgot that because that was mildly hilarious when it happened to me. Also, as I said, there was a code for doing, you know, 30 lives earlier. It's just a simple Konami code. This is the game that pretty much made it famous. And instantly when I saw that spread shot, I'm like, oh yes, spread shot, spread shot. But I have a funny way of over-celebrating when I have a spread shot again. Now see, I really like this part because it's kind of like, oh, I gotta think while I do that shot. Although with a spread shot, you have to think significantly less. And for some reason, yeah, I turned around too much. So I lost the spread again. Gotta get more butter. Now this is a very simple boss. It's actually like easier than the first boss. No, Not quite that easy, but all you have to do is destroy the gold generator on the door, which will occasionally open and send troops at you. But basically the trajectories of those purple cannons on the bottom will be like the gunners in the water on the waterfall stage. Now the alien layer is a pretty tricky stage overall. There's a lot of new enemy types that they just throw right at you, like these alien shrimp. Also this one long worm demon thing. Looks like it's ripped right from Doom, actually. Although, I don't remember when Doom came out right now off the top of my head. It looks kind of like Alien, but anyways. The stage is kind of tricky because there's these purple things that shoot these white projectiles, and these white projectiles get faster the longer you leave them around. Do not let them stop in place or they will start homing on you. Think Sonic's homing attack. Except a lot more deadly. Although the spread shot, like everything else, it makes this segment a bit easier. You want to actively destroy these purple things, although you don't have to destroy every single one of them. You just have to off-screen them. Like, I actually... There's a point where I should have... yeah... That was a bit over-exuberant. Now, these little circling things are pretty easy to kill. They're just annoying because they have such big hitboxes. Now with the heart here, you want to destroy the generators on the bottom so you have less enemies to deal with. The ones on the top are pretty easy to dodge. They have very they have very simple to see like attack patterns. If they go for you, they go for you. But once you have the free reign, just shoot the heart and you have beaten the game. And folks, that was a 17-minute run of Contra. I hope you enjoyed this. I will see you next time on another video. Jedi Supersonic signing out.